Hey Cotton, we should have a chat. Yes, Gemma, what is it? Well, people keep telling me you're talking about the talismans like you wear them around your neck. Well, yeah, where else was I gonna wear it? My wrist? Well, yeah, Cotton, it's a bracelet. Oh, you don't say. Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, with Title Update 3 hitting now, a lot of people are suddenly finding more reasons to care about the power of their build in this game. So it's Omega. Or just people coming around who may not have been lured in by the patch that brought in the RNG talismans to begin with, because that did happen in between the title updates. Regardless, now is as good a time as any to try and improve your build in Monster Hunter Wilds. And one of the main things that we can do that is somewhat recent for this is the RNG appraisal talismans. These drop at the end of any 9-star quest and they roll as an RNG talisman. For the most part, it will be rare to find one of these that is stronger as a whole than the crafted talismans that we already had, but there are quite a few configurations that can be upgrades. And of course, if you get super lucky and find one of the god roll talismans, that can be up to like 5% more damage and some bonus utility on top of that too. So while these aren't like make or break whether you have them or not, it won't like be the end of the world, they do matter. They do still have meaning. That said, today with Title Update 3 being a thing, along with the fact that we've actually had a bit of time to develop deeper and stronger methods, we're going to go over the best talisman farming methods as of Title Update 3, how to get as many chances at your god roll talisman as possible in the minimal amount of time. Just pure grind efficiency min-maxing. First, let's talk about the ways to get appraisal talismans. Then, all 9-star quests drop the appraisal talismans. Currently, that includes the 9-star investigations, of course, as well as 9-star tempered Blanganga, who is a currently active event quest that we'll talk about in a minute, and Savage Omega, who is also an event quest, but I would say right off the bat, if you are able to efficiently, consistently farm Savage Omega, then talismans are probably not much of an issue for you right now. And while he gives like 4 talismans per kill, the kills are much slower than other methods, including the tempered Blanganga, who also gives like 4 per kill. As well, because 9-star quests drop appraisal talismans in the reward section of the drops, the lucky vouchers that you can get 1 of per day can actually get you more talismans. It's pure RNG if it even rolls a talisman in that slot, and it'll only be like another 1 or 2 at most, but that is a solid way to use your daily lucky vouchers if you just sit on them and ignore them like most people do. That said, while 9-star quests in general do give talismans, the efficiency ratio is way better for these from investigations. Specifically, as a good investigation roll can get you up to 20 appraisal talismans from 1 quest completion, not even counting the actual ones that you can get at random from the rewards too, and this is a quest that is 2 9-star tempered monsters together. But there's some extra nuts and bolts to working out how to have this type of quest happen with greater consistency. The other way to get appraisal talismans though is through melding. You can meld talismans that you don't want into being new fresh talismans at a fairly reasonable ratio, and I recommend doing this just as a way to get use out of the talismans that you don't actually want to keep. As well, you can meld talismans through the silver melding tickets, which you can get a few of each week from completing some of the limited bounties at the support desk cat. The silver talisman ticket is worth 10 appraisal talismans each, so this specific reward that we have this week is worth 30 talismans. It's really not bad. It's essentially the equivalent of 1.5 of those high value double 9-star monster investigations that I just showed you. It does require completing multiple things with the limited bounties, so for pure efficiency purposes it isn't worth it unless you can achieve the objectives while still doing efficient farm along the way. For example, this week the actual quest that it was a reward for was completing 9-star monster quests anyways. That said, even on weeks where it doesn't overlap, I am a firm believer that running the exact same hunt activity on loop forever will lead you to an early grave. So if you want a break from the super efficient talisman farm, but still want some level of progress, you should do your bounties regardless of if it overlaps in the first place. Then you can hand in your talisman melding tickets in Suja Village, and then if you don't like any of the ones that you got from doing that, you can again just recycle them through the melding system to get new ones too. On which note, if you are looking for a bit of a break from just running the efficient quests, I mentioned before that there is currently a 9-star tempered Blanganga event quest running, and he actually isn't a terrible farm for the talismans by any means, just not quite the best one. Specifically, he is the weakest of any of the 9-star monsters. He has somewhere around 37,000 health when you are solo, which is a lot compared to normal Blanganga, but a little bit below any other of the 9-star monsters. And doing his quest 4 times, I got 3 talismans as the reward once, and 4 talismans as the reward every one of the other times. So seemingly 3 of them is guaranteed, and you have a chance of at least 1 more as a bonus. Most players in meta builds will be able to kill this much faster than the other 9-star monsters, because it also has a Blanganga moveset, just scaled up a little bit. And so this is a actually pretty solid option for farming too. Generally speaking, I'd say if you are not confident or comfortable with the actual proper 9-star investigation monsters, this would probably be your best option. This is far better than a quest that you might fail or a quest that you are fainting on repeatedly or doing slowly. But if you can do a 9-star tempered investigation in like 10 minutes or less, it'll always result in more talisman rewards per time spent, so long as you have the investigations built up to actually support that. That said, it's worth noting before we get into the nitty gritty of the proper best farm options, getting a god roll talisman is a very low chance. I did the math when the system first came out, when it first released, and it of course depends on what your god roll talisman looks like for your build. Some weapons have god rolls that are like rarity 6 or rarity 7 talismans, and those are much more approachable because they are higher chances of appearing to begin with. But getting a rarity 8 talisman from the RNG roll is a 3% chance when you appraise the glowing orb each time. This means 1 in every 33 or so talismans will be a rarity 8 to start with. You then need the first skill to roll perfectly for the one that you want, then there are a lot of potential skill rolls, so that is a low chance to begin with. Then you need the second skill roll to roll with exactly what you want too, and that is also a low chance. Then you also want decorations. Ideally, a rarity 8 is always guaranteed to have the 1 weapon decoration socket, but it can also roll 2 more armor decoration sockets, which are great for defense and utility skills, so the barrier to reaching a truly properly god roll talisman is a hell of a lot of time and no small amount of luck either, even with the time investment as well. Moving on then, let's get to the specifics of the 9-star investigation tempered monsters and how to maximize your choices of which ones to farm and how. First step, which ones are the ideal targets? The first thing to note is that not all 9-star tempered quests are made equally. They don't give the same reward options. There are specifically 4 monsters in the pool that give a larger amount of talismans as rewards. If they are one of the targets in a double monster quest, the whole quest will roll with enhanced rewards. Specifically, these monsters that I'm talking about here are 9-star seregios, 9-star lagiacrus, 9-star gore magala as well, and then also 9-star dahaad. You can easily see the difference just when looking through at these single monster quests. Most 9-star monsters only roll 1 glowing orb per slot, 5 slots at most. The 4 that I just mentioned all have the ability to get 2 glowing orbs per slot, and this extends to double monster quests too. This means that they can have double the amount of talismans from the other quests with the other monsters. As mentioned, this does apply to the double monster quests, so if you have a 9-star seregios, for example, that also has a 9-star Raidao, the total rewards can be up to 20 maximum talismans, because the seregios bumps up the rewards of the quest as a whole. The same goes for double monster 9-star investigations that have lagiacrus or gore magala in them as well. These will have enhanced rewards regardless of which the other 9-star monster is. dahaad obviously can't do double quests, but you get the idea. Generally speaking, this would indicate that the best choice is to specifically aim for these double monster investigations, where one of the monsters is the high value 9-star to increase the reward boxes in general, but the other monster on the quest is one of the easier 9-star options so you can get through the quest quicker. This creates more efficiency. One easy way to measure which ones are efficient is through their health pools. This was data mined info for the 9-star monsters when they first released. Every monster here has varied health spawns within a set range, but this is the lowest HP potential for 9-star monsters with 5 purple stars on them, so the most difficult version. This makes it quite clear that gore magala and dahaad, even outside of being more threatening quests generally, are going to be much slower than the other 2 options here as far as seregios and lagiacrus. Instinctually, you may lean towards lagiacrus as he has the lowest HP, but you have to consider that the average player will have to deal with his underwater section, his underwater phase, his movement around the map, and that will make it take longer. You can kill him without him going into the underwater zone by just keeping him in other places until you've just overpowered him and killed him, but that is harder to do, and I don't think most people are going to want to do it. But even if you do that, I think generally speaking the best combo, in my opinion, is 9-star seregios with 9-star Raidao for a couple of major reasons. First, Raidao does a lot of lightning damage to seregios if they wind up in the same zone. They also have a turf war, so there is some pretty guaranteed damage, and in general, Raidao will just do loads of free hits to seregios as a whole. 9-star Raidao is no picnic himself, but he is way easier to fight than seregios is, and so having the seregios part made faster and simpler makes the quest as a whole much more approachable. The best way to specifically hunt for this investigation type is to rest for inclemency in the windward plains. Time of day doesn't seem to have any effect, but inclemency near guarantees a Raidao will spawn on the map. Then you just need to hit the right level of luck to get specifically 9-star Raidao and specifically 9-star seregios as well. It's worth noting here that higher difficulty quests will appear more often if you have higher HR. So 9-star 9-star monsters simply appear more frequently if you have a higher hunter rank. As well, while I am focusing on Seregios and Raid Dao here, keep an eye on the other maps when you're resting as well, because Lagiacrus double monster quests on the forest are also fairly high value options. The only one that I would avoid looking for generally is double monster quests with 9-star gore magala, just because the level of challenge and difficulty and extra health just makes them much slower and more risky than the other options for the same level of possible rewards. Also, keep an eye on the Wounded Hollow map, as these monsters can appear in the arena too, including Lagiacrus as of Title Update 3, which does make him a much more efficient one to farm there. Now for the big one, this is the big thing that makes me lean towards Seregios and Raid Dao being the absolute ideal quest, which is a combination of two main strategies. First, we talked earlier about how Raid Dao messes up Seregios because Seregios is super weak to lightning damage. Well, the other way to take advantage of this is when the windward plains are in inclemency, which is what you're resting for anyways. Lightning will strike down somewhat randomly across the map, except in Raid Dao's nest, all the way to the side. Because it's full of fulgurite, the lightning will hit in here constantly, and so if you fight Seregios in this zone, he will get hit by the lightning fairly frequently. The lightning itself does health percentage damage, which is quite meaty. It's nearly 600 damage solo, up to like 1700 in a 4-player group, something like that, as well as flinching him too out of attacks out of the sky. So it just adds up to being a lot of extra power. And before you say, wait, surely it's not worth it to use lure pods to drag Seregios all the way over to that zone every quest just for that purpose, well, you don't have to do it for every quest. The way that investigations work in Monster Hunter Wilds, the state of the map is saved when you save the investigation. This means that the monsters will spawn when you launch the investigation in whatever zone they were when you saved the investigation. So if you rest in a tent, you see a 9-star Seregios is on the windward plains, you can then lure pod him over to the Raid Dao nest, save the investigation, which will give you 3 charges of a quest where he starts in Raid Dao's nest. Then you can also do the field survey for a 4th version of this quest as well, and this is just so effective that it's honestly even worth doing solo Seregios quests like this if you have a good roll on a Seregios investigation, but double quests are still the most efficient rewards per time if you have a good option. So this strat, combined with also having a 9-star Raid Dao on the quest 2, is the absolute 100% perfect ideal investigation for efficient talisman farming. You can also apply similar strategies for Lagiacrus, because if you get a good Lagiacrus double setup on your offer, you can just drag Lagiacrus to the waterfall zone or up to the Yonkut nest before you save the investigation to give yourself more free environmental damage during the actual quests once you launch them. So in essence, the ultimate min-max is specifically saving investigations that are double 9-star investigations for Seregios and Raid Dao, but you save them with Seregios already in Raid Dao's nest. If you can finagle it to also lure Raid Dao into one of the zones with droppable objects too, that could be even more crazy with the actual efficiency during the quest. Past that, double monster quests in general are worth it just because they tend to work out to be faster than doing 2 single monster quests, even though in Wilds monsters do not have reduced health on multi-monster quests. Seregios and Lagiacrus then are the most valuable pair of main targets, but Jin Dahaad and Gore Magala do offer the same value too, just for longer and harder fights. You can also get talismans dropped from 9-star event quests like Tempered Blade Ganga running right now, which is actually pretty decent if you want a more chill farm source, far less actual reward efficiency but not terrible, and it's the easiest monster that you can currently fight for these RNG talisman drops by a fair margin. Then there's also the melding system, which is important to not forget about for generating more talismans from the ones that you don't actually want to keep. That just about does it for today, and everyone, your full updated guide to talisman farming in Title Update 3 for Monster Hunter Wilds. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and hopefully it helps you out in achieving your ideal talismans just a little bit faster, or at least an upgraded talisman over what you have to begin with. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.